so thank you for coming. I'm Chris Potter. I'm the president of the International Low Flute Society, and today we're giving a presentation on alternate fingerings. I am recording. This is being recorded. So if you don't want your face on the recording, you can go down into the bottom left corner of your Zoom screen and just click on the little movie camera icon, and it will turn your picture off. So just warning you. Okay. The order of business, here comes somebody else. The order of business here, AJ, who's in Istanbul, is going to go first, and then Paige, here's another person, and then Paige, and then Mariana, whom I haven't seen yet. Let's hope that she shows up. Okay, I'm going to turn my screen off. So I'll just be my name, and whoops, here comes some, oh, Beverly. Okay, all these people. It's just like a reunion, you know? It's just, okay, take it away, AJ.
Okay, thank you. Let me share my screen first and see if you can all see. Okay, is it working?
Yes.
Okay, I am Ece Karsal, and I'll be talking about alternate fingerings for bass flute. First, I want to say that I'm not sure if I don't think so, but still, if there is a beginner here for the flute, I would, the first suggestions would be from me is if you're a beginner, it's better you be very good and very fluent at the regular flute fingerings first. Because especially if you are beginning to a low flute, you have to experiment about your flute and see what's happening, what's not happening, how your flute replying you. So it's very important that you must focus on the regular fingerings, and then you can work on the alternate fingerings. And then why we need alternate fingerings? For me, there are a few reasons that we use alternate fingerings. First, they are easier to play. Flute is a very, very flexible instrument, and we can play many things. And sometimes it's being very, really difficult musical phrases that we have to play. So sometimes some positions, some alternate positions is working perfectly for flute, that it's making our job a lot easier. So maybe we can focus on the musicality a lot better that way. And another reason can be for intonation, because all flutes, including concert flute and all the low flutes, especially at the third octave, we might have serious intonation problems. And alternate fingerings, it's usually sharp, but you never know. It might depend on the flute. Different brands, different problems, or even sometimes the same brand might cause different problems. So the good side of alternate fingerings is we can fix our intonation by them. Another reason is that alternate fingerings create different colors. Maybe we don't need an easier position. Maybe our intonation is already good. We don't need a better intonation, but just for creating a different color, we might need the alternate fingerings. And another reason is it is also a need for contemporary music. Many contemporary composers are looking for different colors, different ideas, different positions. So we have to know the majority of the alternate fingerings for being able to use on the.
You're muted.
Okay, is it fine now? Okay.
Yes.
Contemporary composers, I was just talking about the color trills, multiphonics, and harmonics are usually used on the contemporary music. Contemporary composers sometimes write the finger positions right above the note. So we can see how we have to use our fingers over there. And sometimes composers gives us an instruction page. Usually at the beginning of the piece, there is an instructions page, so the composer explains us how to play that specific places. Sometimes it's being at the end of the piece as well. But sometimes composers just don't say anything. So we have to figure out ourselves how to play that specific positions. And also maybe we must add YouTube here too, because some composers are sharing the YouTube links and they're explaining us how to play those specific positions, which is, I think, being very, very good. Then the first note for bass flute, I will be talking about the second octave E, mi. Maybe it will be very good if you can play as I am talking, so you can try and experiment with your flute. Not only bass flute, the other flutes also can try this, and you will see if it works for you or not. Why I got this note first? Because when I first played a low flute, the biggest difficulty I had was the second octave positions. Because usually at low flutes, first octaves are more focused. The sound is better. But when we go an upper octave, it is usually harder to focus. And E is one of the notes that is difficult than the others. Well, in flute, I actually find the notes a little similar to our fingers. Well, in our hand, we have 5 fingers, well, usually 5 fingers, and each of them are different from each other. Their sizes are different, their appearance is different, their strength is different. And their character is different. And same goes the notes at the flute. Each note has a different character. So E is one of the notes that's not easy, I must say. So E is the note which is not easy to catch. So if we use, can you see the screen? If we use the trill key here, it really makes the second octave E a lot more stable. Maybe you can try playing that. Stable, brighter, but a little sharp. So if you remove the pinky finger here, it also helps being sharp because it lowers the pitch a little. So you might feel more comfortable that way. I'll go quickly for a few finger positions. Then I have a small video because I thought it might be more clear for you to hear from the video. Another finger position is, instead of this pinky, you can use again the trill key, but you can use C sharp or C for the finger positions. And then another position is you can again use C sharp and C, but not use the finger, the trill finger. So here the video comes, and I am hoping that you can hear the pitch and the sound more clearly from here. Talking about the second octave E, this is the regular fingering for E. And the first alternate finger, we will be using this trill finger here. So this is the regular E, and this is the alternate. Well, about this note, E, the problem is, especially when we are playing forte or when we are using our tongue more, for example, when we are playing staccato, there is an aim to get cracked for this note. So this alternate fingering makes the sound really, really a lot more stable and a lot more brighter. See the difference? Depending on the flute, you can experiment this yourself actually. It might make the sound a little sharper. But if we remove this finger using this trill key, removing this finger, it might make the sound a little lower too. So here are the differences. I think you can hear those. And then again, using this trill key here, instead of pinky here, we can use the pinky on C sharp. I really like the dark color on here. Also, we can use this finger here on C. This fingering also can be used with removing this trill key. I mean, this is regular E, but we will use pinky on here and on here. I think you can hear the differences. I think all these fingerings are the fingerings that you must experiment on your flute. Okay, and there is another position actually I can say, which is not on the video, but I can show you here. Instead of the same E position with this trill fingering or not, both works, but you can use your fingers on these two keys at the same time. I mean this, I hope you can see that, and this. Try to press them at the same time. Here, that's another possibility for E. Okay, then it comes the third octave E. This is also another problematic note at flute. You can just use this just for removing the pinky finger, or just by using C and C sharp finger. These are options. There is another option that you can use this trill key as well, using the pinky finger or not using the pinky finger. So these are the alternate fingerings for E3. Another fingering for E3, actually we use this by overblowing. You just don't use the right hand fingers. You may again use the trill key, or you might not use the trill key, but just left hand fingerings plus pinky, trill key, or not. So here how it sounds. About third octave E, actually this is a more stable note than the second octave E. But for the third octave E, we can still use this trill fingering. This is the regular fingering, and this is the trill fingering we use. And for the pitch getting a bit lower, we can again remove this pinky, just like at the second octave E. I think you can hear the pitch differences. Another alternate position is just removing the pinky. I mean, this is regular third octave E, and if you remove the pinky, this is the alternate position. This is especially working if you are coming from a high note to E. This really helps a lot for not cracking the note. And another alternate position is removing the right hand, keeping the pinky, and keeping those fingers on the left hand. Or using the trill key can be an option. But these alternate fingerings are lowering the pitch quite a lot. So you must be sure that you keep the pitch on tune. But you might have a very nice colors with this different. Okay, I think my sound is not coming so properly. from the video or from me? Can you hear?
Okay, we can hear you when you speak, and we can hear about 2 seconds of the sound, and then it cuts out. So I'm thinking on the top left of your Zoom screen, you have to have the sound for musicians on. So I don't know if you've, and it's on the Zoom screen. I think many of us have discovered that over time, is that, again, it's at the top left of the Zoom screen that you have to put, you know, the sound for musicians on.
I don't have it, I think.
Okay, it may not.
But
There's
at
a
least
preference.
hear
There's a
me when I
preference you have to
talk.
set first, I think.
Sorry?
There's a preference you have to set first for that to appear, I think.
I think I can't probably find it, figure it out now. If I'm talking, I have just one more short video, so I think it will work. Just let me know.
Okay.
This was E3 then. The next quick alternate fingerings I'll be talking about is E flat 3. And E flat 3, you know, normally we close all the fingers, but for an alternate position, we might remove left hand, just removing the pinky finger. And another position for E flat 3 is using the first trill finger. Maybe you can try with your flutes. And I'll talk about F3. This is also aiming to get sharp. So for reducing that, you can remove the pinky here, or making the pitch a bit lower, you can add another key for the right hand, which is this. So it also makes the pitch more normal. And another position for F3 is actually we can play this with overblowing. This is T flat position, you know. We will just overblow T flat position, and then we will find F3 there. So let me see. This is very short. Hopefully you can hear. Let me know. About third octave E flat, if you are tending to go sharp, you can think about removing pinky finger. And another option is removing these 3 fingers. You can use this trill key as well. Are all lowering down the sound. This is the regular sound. And these are the alternate ones. And F3 is also a note that might tend to get sharper, again, if we are playing forte or depending on your flute. So this can be an option, removing the pinky to make your pitch.
Oh, damn.
And there is another option that if you close this key as well, it is also lowering the sound. And there is another option that we can produce the F with overblowing, which is actually using the T flat option. You know, you have to close here. This is the normal T flat, and you will just overblow. But of course, this is too flat again. Okay, was it better? Could you hear? Okay, I have one example for this. The alternate fingerings I just talked about, we will use 3 alternate fingerings here, and we will try to play this. You can try these all with contrabass flute, alto flute, or bass flute as well. This is the thing we will play. But instead of the regular fingerings, we will use these fingerings. So this is how it goes. For exercise 1, these are the regular fingerings for that exercise. As you see, this spacing is quite difficult, especially if you're playing that musical phrase fast. But the alternate fingering makes it a lot easier. But because that alternate fingering is too flat, you have to think upwards to be able to catch the tune. Okay, do I have time, Chris, or?
It's time for somebody else.
Okay, then I have a few more, but maybe I can send them mailing or somehow. Thank you for listening to me then.
Okay, thank you, AJ.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we go on, here's the deal with this sound setting for musicians. It is something you have to set up. You want original, if you're going to play, you want to have original sound for musicians on. And the way you set that is that you go down to the bottom left corner of your screen. This is if you're going to play, and I know that you guys aren't going to, most of you are not going to play right now, but if you have a lesson or whatever, you go down to the bottom left, there's a little microphone icon, and then next to that is a little upward arrow. You click on that, and that gets you to audio settings. So it has select a microphone, you go down to the bottom, audio settings. You click on audio settings, and you'll get a big white screen. And about 3/4 of the way down, under audio profile, it says original sound for musicians. And you want to click that. And you want to click high fidelity music mode, echo cancellation, and uncheck, if it's checked, above audio profile, uncheck automatically adjust microphone volume. Uncheck that. Okay, again, I know many of you already know this. Anyway, that's how you get to that. Okay, Paige is next.
Hi, it's great to see you today. I don't know whether it's morning or afternoon or evening, depending on what time zone you're in. And we're gonna work with the contrabass, but as with Ece, we can try it on all of our altos or bass or even your concert flute. So I am going to do one very contra-specific message. For all flutists, the alignment of our head joint is very important as you play. But we as contra flutists have this structure on our embouchure plate that concert flutes and alto flutes don't have to contend with. And so it's not as intuitive of where you should put your head joint and how straightforward that embouchure plate is, or how back it is, or forward it is. And that is one place to experiment before you start trying different fingerings and things, is where the adjustment of your head joint and the structure that's on top of your flute, because that makes a big difference in how easy it is for you to play from the lower register to the middle register to the upper register. Okay, so enough of contrabass talk right now. We're going to spend some time with harmonics. And harmonics are a great source of alternate fingerings. And actually, some of the fingerings Ece suggested were harmonic fingerings. But we're going to go into a little bit about specifically what harmonics are and how to produce them. Some of you, this may be the first time you're playing harmonics. Some of you use them all the time in your warm-ups or whatever. I think harmonics are a great way to build flexibility in your embouchure, regardless of the size of flute that you are holding. So we're just going to briefly go through what's a harmonic. So for each pitch that you finger, each tone that you finger on your flute, you get a fundamental sound. That's the fingering you are using, and that's a fundamental sound that you get. And within that fundamental sound, there are also harmonics that are produced above that. And you can isolate those harmonics either with your embouchure or by what people often say is overblowing. So we want to today focus on using our embouchure for many reasons, because it's building your embouchure and it might make some of these alternate fingering, harmonic fingerings more useful for you. So how do you isolate a harmonic? Well, first of all, the harmonic, if the fundamental pitch that you are fingering has a sound wave that has a wave frequency, and in order to isolate that harmonic, it has a faster frequency. So we want to increase the frequency of our sound. Faster air means faster frequency. So we're going to speed up our air. If you've ever had a garden hose and water's flowing out of a garden hose, you put your thumb over the end of the garden hose and all of a sudden water starts shooting out. It's the same way with our flute. When you have your embouchure, that airstream or aperture, that space in between your lips, if you decrease the size of your aperture, the space in between your lips, that's going to increase your air. So you're going to have faster air, you get faster frequencies. So you're going to get, you can isolate these harmonics. You want to keep your lips relaxed. I think it's helpful to push your lower lip out. And as you try to get harmonics within the fundamental tone, I almost think of blowing up. So if you're blowing this way, as you try to go up the harmonic, you're going to be raising your airspeed as well as getting your airspeed faster. So I'm going to share my screen and we're just going to do a little bit with this. Let me see, share my screen, and here we go. And I might have to change. I don't want that one. I want this one. Okay, everybody see harmonic series there? Yes? Okay, just
Yes.
basic. We're going to work with C1, which is the lowest C on your flute. We're just going to call that C1, and we play that normally. So when you finger the normal C1, that is what you get. Then, if we increase our airspeed and lift up the direction of our air just a little bit, we're going to get C2, which is the C inside the staff. You see the second measure? And composers indicate harmonics by putting a little circle above the note. So if you look above the staff, you'll see that little circle. So that means harmonic. Well, what is that little thing underneath the harmonic? Not all composers do this, but this is the fingering we are going to use. We're going to use the C1 fingering to produce C2 by, again, increasing our airspeed, closing our aperture, the air that's the space in between your lips, and lifting up the airspeed. Let's just try the first two measures, 4 beats. I don't know how well my computer picks up my flute. I think the contrabass flute may be out of the range of the microphone of my computer. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. So I'm going to count to 4. We're going to play low C for 4 counts. You're going to still finger C1, and then you're going to increase your airspeed and raise up your air stream to get C2. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. There you go. So that's the first one. And sometimes people call that overblowing. But again, let's look at the science behind that and try to use our embouchure, increasing airspeed and lifting up the air stream. Then the next harmonic is G2, which is a G on top of the staff. So let's play C1, natural fingering. Let's play the first harmonic, which is C2. And then let's play the next harmonic, which is G2, all using the C1 fingering. 1, 2, ready, go. I don't know how well this picks up. I might be able to count better to keep you together. Let's do one more. The next harmonic is C3. And you can see these notes start getting closer together. And you say, why are we doing this? These are not only embouchure builders, but they're great sources of alternate fingerings. And the best choice of alternate fingering, if you're using harmonics, is that first one, which is an octave above the natural fingering, or the second one, which is an octave and a fifth above. So, and we'll keep that in mind for the next thing that we're doing. But let's start with the harmonic series, and we're going to play C1, C2, G2, C3, and then we're going to try to get E3. And I think I'm going to count you through it versus playing, because I'm not sure how well you hear this anyway, and we'll stay together better. Here we go. Ready? Go. C1, hold it. Here's C2, hold it. Try to get G2. Try to get C3, hold it. Try to hold it. There you go. So that's the harmonic series, and you can see it continues up, but we're not going to do that today because we want to get on to some other things. And each note has its own harmonic series. So, but all of that can be done by fingering C1. I think it's harder to come down than go up. And these are great ways to develop the ease of playing in your low flute in all of your register. So, how many want to impress your friends with one-handed scales? Maybe you've played a one-handed scale. A lot of you have, a lot of you haven't. So here we have a G major scale. If you start on G2, which is that G above the staff, use the natural fingerings for G, A, B natural, C, D. But then when you get to the E, this is one of the alternate fingerings Ece said, we're going to use, you're going to finger A. You see the little harmonic note underneath, you're going to finger A, because again, remember I said the octave and a fifth, the first harmonic and the second harmonic are the most stable and the easiest to get. So you're going to finger A, but increase your airspeed, raise your airstream to get E. Then we need F sharp for our G major scale. So on Ece's high F, she put her thumb on the B flat key, but you have to keep your thumb on the B natural, on the normal thumb key, because we want F sharp. So we're going to use a harmonic from B. You're going to finger B and get F sharp. And then for high G, you're going to finger C to get high G. We're not going to play each note 4 beats. Let's just play up the scale a bit. Let's see if you can hear this.
Okay, Paige, if when you start and I can't hear you, I got my bass out just now, and I'll play along. If I can't hear you when you start, I'll just start playing.
Maybe you should just start playing and I'll count, so we'll keep everybody together.
All right.
Okay, here we go.
I hope everybody.
And we're just gonna do each pitch, hold it and move. Here we go. Ready? Middle G. Here we go. Play. A. Then go up to A. High E using an A harmonic. High F sharp using B. And up to G. using C. So you can play a one-handed scale and impress your friends. It's all within one hand, which is really, really a lot of fun. You can do the same thing with A flat, but we're not going to go through that right this moment. We're going to talk a little bit about pitch now, because we've been developing some harmonics, but pitch can be an issue, obviously. And typically, if you want to lower the pitch, you want to close keys to flatten the pitch. So let's use high G for an example. If you're playing high G, not the harmonic, the normal fingering for high G, you don't have your thumb down here. You have all three fingers here. And so we want to close some keys to flatten the pitch. The first thing I do, you have to use your right hand because your left hand's busy doing this and you don't want to change the pitch of the note that you're playing. You just want to flatten the pitch. As AJ said, you lift up your little pinky in your right hand because that, when you depress your pinky in your right hand, that opens up the key. And remember, we said we want to close keys to flatten pitch. So you're going to lift up your pinky because that closes that key, and that's why it makes it flatter. And you can try that. You can put your tuner on and try that. Another thing I like to do, in addition to experiment with different things for pitch, I like to lift up my pinky, but I also like to put down my ring finger of my right hand. That's going to lower the pitch the more. And if you want to lower it even more, I'll put down the third finger of my right hand and the fourth finger of my right hand, still keeping my pinky up, because again, we're closing keys to flatten pitch. Now I can't put my first finger down because that's going to change the tone that we are playing, but you see how that works. And the opposite is true for if you want to raise the pitch. If you're playing flat, you need to kind of, you want to vent someplace so that you can raise the pitch up a little bit, up high. So those are just some fun pitch things. Things to think about as you experiment, because we all have to experiment. Every flute's different, especially these low flutes. So let's go do one more harmonic exercise. And this is one of my favorite warm-ups, whether I'm on concert flute, whether I'm on a low flute. You see in the first measure, you're playing C1, natural fingerings. In the second measure, you're going to continue fingering C1, but you're going to play the C harmonic of C2. Then the third measure, you play the natural C2 fingering and see how you match pitch in color. So let's try those first three measures. I'll count you through it. We're going to play low C using the natural fingering. Then we're going to play C2 on the staff using your C1 fingering. Then we're going to play C2 using the fingering for C2. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. C1, play it and hold it. Now go up to the harmonic. 3, 4. Now your natural C fingering, C2 fingering. Now we can do, let's try, because I'm almost out of time here. Let's try playing through, say, measure 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're going to go through measure 12. So we're going to stop at the E. So with each one of these, and you can do these descending too, we're doing them ascending. You finger the fundamental tone, the fundamental pitch. You go up to the first harmonic, and then with a harmonic fingering, and then you use the fundamental pitch fingering right after that to match it. And then we go on to the next series. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Low C, fundamental pitch. Go up an octave, using harmonic. Now use the normal C2 fingering. Now go back using C1 fingering for that C. Go up to G2 with the harmonic fingering of C1. Now play G2 with the natural fingering. Now do G2 with the C1 fingering. Go up to E, C, there you go. And then the natural fingering for C3. Back to a C1 fingering. You go up to E using the C1 fingering. And then play the natural fingering for E. There we go.
Well, you can
And
sure hear how sharp the regular fingering is.
yes, exactly. And so you can experiment with this, but it's a great way to begin thinking about alternate fingerings. And now that you understand more of the science behind harmonics, how to do that with your embouchure and incorporate that into whatever size flute you're playing. But okay.
Okay, thank you, Paige.
You're welcome. Great to be here.
Okay, so Mariana is next, and she has to unmute herself.
I mute myself. Hello, everyone. It's so great to see you. Chris, may I share the screen so that I can show my materials right here? And I am going to put
Should
this
be able
document
to.
on the chat.
Everybody else has been sharing their screen. I don't see why you can't.
Ah, okay. You can start. Oh, okay, great. Give me 1 second. I need to send this document for everyone to have right here on the chat. Okay, I cannot access that, but I will share my screen. Okay, so here we go. Stop share. Let me see if I'm sharing the right thing. That. Okay, now we are. All right. So I'm going to be talking today about alternate fingerings for the alto flute. And it's going to build up in the presentations that Ece and Paige did. I identify 7 steps or 7 areas in which we could use alternate fingerings, and I use them all the time. And one of them is in tough passages. And actually, the exercise that Paige was showing us with the scale, the one-hand scale, it's a wonderful example for that. So again, if we play the G major scale in the 2nd octave, that's with the regular fingerings. But if I do it just with one hand, I can go a lot faster. So that would be a good, good exercise to do. So you can try that by playing the G scale, and you play G, A, B, C, and then repeat it as fast as possible. One question for you. Can you hear me okay? Because I know that the sound was having some issues. Okay, great. Another great employment of the alternate fingerings is to optimize response in the instrument. And that is not only to make the dynamic range bigger, but also to make sure that the articulation in the instrument responds really well. So let me explain here. We all know that the E and the F, the middle register in the alto flute, can be very cracky, very prone to cracking the sound. So here are some of the techniques that I use. And these fingerings that you see here are from the alto flute method by Chris Potter. And here is the fingering for the E. So here's the regular fingering that we have. But if we use the trill keys, then that will open up the sound quite a bit in the E. So I invite you to all of you to try. Play the regular E. And then if we want a double tone or triple tone, that's what happens, right? It breaks out. Now, if I add the trill key, the second trill key right there, it really allows me to do that much, much better. Something else that I discovered right here in this one is that if you lift your pinky, so now we have the trill key and then the pinky off, that would allow you also to have very good response, but will not be as sharp as with the pinky down. So try with the pinky down and with the pinky off, and you'll notice a slight difference in intonation. I don't know if through Zoom you can hear the difference, but it's quite remarkable. The same is applicable to the F. also listed right here. This is our regular F fingering. If we open up the second trill key, then we can get a much better response for the F. This is F. And with the trill key. And now let me show you how that can be applied into the music that we practice. So here is an excerpt from when I changed it to a PDF. For some reason, changed the formatting, but this is Shadow Spot. Shadow Spot, a composition by Marty Regan, written in 2016. And in this composition, I must use the trill keys for all of these F that you see here. And in general, every time that I have an E that has an accent, I will be using that. So I'm going to read starting on measure 30 right here. So I can only create that very wide dynamic range if I have the trill key on. Otherwise, I can demonstrate that too. It's very likely that I break it. I have to put a lot more effort if I don't have the trill key right in there. Okay, so that is for the trill keys. Now, an optimizing response. Another area in which we all use our alternate fingerings is just regular trills. And, you know, we can have as an example, maybe E to F sharp. So instead of trilling to the F sharp, we'll do the first round to F sharp, and then we'll trill with an alternate fingering, which is leaving the ring finger, not the ring finger, the middle finger down into the E. So that's just to state the obvious. We all use that in any kind of flute that we play. We use alternate fingerings. Another good one is A flat to B flat. We trill with these two fingers, but we leave the pinky down in the left hand. So make sure that pinky is down, and then you trill with these two fingers right here. Always that we start a trill with alternate fingerings, make sure that the first trill is the regular finger that you use, and then add the alternate fingerings. That will help you to create the sonority at the very beginning of the trill. So in the second example, when I use the regular fingering in the first trill, that really helped to contextualize and to give a better response and perception of the trill altogether. So yet another example of utilizing alternate fingerings would be in tremolos. So here we can have the E flat to G flat, and we're going to leave down the index again to create, to use these alternate fingerings during tremolos. Okay, and the most interesting for me is the one example in which we utilize alternate fingerings to create color changes. And this is very common in contemporary music. Composers are using this all the time. Use fingerings to explore a wide palette of colors. Here's one example that we can all do together. And this is to enhance the C tone. So if you finger G, but lift off your thumb, so finger G, off thumb, this is a kind of C, and then you can play your right hand fingers ad libitum. So you get an effect there of transforming colors. But let me put this into context with a particular piece. So we're gonna go and look at, first I'm gonna be looking at Nakora by Ellen Linkwich, 2002, and I saw Leo here in the room. I know that she plays this piece. So here is an example. So you see, let me increase the size right here so we can all see. I'm going to be talking about this color change right here. The composer asked for a C that has a mezzo forte dynamic with vibrato, and then to create a stark contrast in color, she offers us this fingering. The A flat or G sharp key should be pressed on, and then we were going to use no vibrato, senza vibrato. And that creates a very, very good contrast. There's a little bit of change in intonation, but definitely in color too. If we want to add the glissando down, that creates the full effect of this phrase. You go all the way down. Okay, so let me go to other example of color changes right here, and that would be the utilization of harmonics. And I know Paige covered this in a very, very easy and digestible approach, a very good explanation. Here is how we will use it in a piece of music. And let me tell you, this is the Scherzando Armonico, is one of the 8 preludes by Daniel Kresser. This was written in 2015. These are beautiful pieces, sort of like etudes, if you will, for the alto and bass flute. So here I'm going to demonstrate by playing the first 2 phrases, 1 and 2, with the regular fingerings. I'm going to now add the harmonics that go below. So that hopefully can show you how the sounds change in color. There's a depthness that is gained by the harmonic by using the lower fingerings right here. Here's another example that you can try along with me. Starting on this C sharp, you notice that it's all C sharp, C sharp, C sharp, all of them. But what I'm going to be changing is the fingerings or the partials that go underneath. I'm going to play first all C sharps with a regular fingering. And when I am using C sharp in my alto flute, I always put these 2 fingers down for intonation correction. And now with the partials. So there's a nice color change that is rendered by these alternate fingerings, in this particular case, the partials. Okay, so I know that we are running out of time, but I have one more that I think is very, very cool. And it is using color trills or bisbigliando. Bisbigliando is a term that we use for a fancy term for color trills. It's a trill within the same pitch. So usually in trills, we have 2 adjacent pitches. In tremolos, we have 2 pitches that are far apart. In bisbigliando or color trills, we are trilling within the same pitch range. So here's one simple one that we can do. So if you all play A, and then we flap these 3 fingers, pinkies down, just like a regular A, and then flap these 3 fingers, and then you'll get the effect of bis brillando. I probably need to go a little bit slower over Zoom to capture the intonation changes. So here is an example in music. I'm gonna show this one right here. So at the bottom of this page, and I'm gonna try it on this octave just because I don't trust the Zoom will capture the high register. So here the composer asked for bis brillando on a G flat and then on F. And the truth is, I built up in what Ece and Paige were saying, is that each flute will have a particular fingering that likes to use in a specific place. So in my case, for the G flat, I'm going to be adding the middle finger to create that color change. And you ought to experiment a little bit. Let me see if I can put it that way. I can also try to change by lifting up my pinky this way, but the change is not as obvious. So this one is better. So that's bis brillando. If we want to do it on an F, so on F, I feel like it's better if I lift off my pinky. And use the 3rd finger right here. If the pinky is down, still can be heard, it's not as present. And this is all very subtle. So here is the bis brillando epsilon right here. Yet another way of utilizing alternate fingerings is when composers ask for microtones. And microtones, and I have 1 more minute, I know, microtones are distances within distances that are smaller than the half step, if you will. This composer, Philippe Hersant, in the 3rd song, doesn't specify the height of the microtones or the fingerings. Many times when we have flutists that are composers that are flutists, they're really nice in giving us the fingerings that we would like to use. In this piece, I feel like we have to explore our own alternate fingerings. So for instance, for this A that I have right in here, right there, so I try to lower the pitch. So this is a regular A flat, A sharp. So I go, and I lower 1 more finger to make it sound out of tune. And then I find that compromise in the whole episode. And so the idea is that it sounds a little bit out of tune, if you will, by using alternate fingerings in that way. Okay, so I think that I covered all of my 7 points. Let me go back there. Oh, the last point was intonation, that I think that it was widely covered by Paige and Ece, and I can keep talking if there's time for that, but I'll consult with Chris if that's okay.
Well, I did want to wrap it up, and things just in general I have to say is don't be afraid to experiment, and to lower pitch you lower keys. That helps, lower, right? Lower pitch, lower keys. If you want to raise pitch, raise keys. And that sort of helps remind us what we need to do. I mean, the low flutes have different intonation problems than C flute, and we have to be creative in figuring out how to solve those issues. But you can't be afraid to try stuff. And I'll say that if it's not what you like, the plumbing has not backed up, and you have not gotten a speeding ticket, so it's okay.
Yeah, we gotta be creative and experiment, really experiment what works better. And then there is a little bit of memorization that needs to take place, right? So once you recognize what is the fingering that you want to use, and it might be that your fingering is better than the one that the composer put there for, for reference. So trust your instinct, trust your ear, and also what it feels most comfortable for you, and then develop that little memory. You had many years of training with the right fingerings, and then asking the brain to do something different can be tricky. So be patient with yourself in learning those new steps in your hand position.
Okay, so we do have a question from Hal in the chat, and he's asking about the notes and the in the Hersant piece. And the thing that's tricky is that you don't notice that little sharp is only like half a sharp, right? The first sharp written in that piece was the full, tic-tac-toe sharp, but the next one was just half a sharp. And if you're not looking for that, you don't notice. But so he's asking, have any alternate fingerings for the quarter notes, the quarter tones, sorry. And you experiment, you figure out what works on your instrument is sort of what it amounts to.
Right. So for the quarter tones in the 30-second notes. Yeah. So that's what I was talking about. So I create my own alternate fingering, something that sounds out of tune. In some of these instances, like the G, it can really not be done at that speed, that the G that is a microtone. I just couldn't find a way of using that G at that speed. I mean, if I can open up the hole of my Kigma flute, so then, yeah, I can get a microtone right there. But at the speed that is indicated there, I can't. So I make a sound that creates the illusion of the pitch being out of tune, which I claim myself being able to play out of tune.
Okay, do we have any other questions? I'm going to look for. So if you do, just go ahead and unmute yourself. I've got most everybody muted at this point. Just unmute. Go ahead.
Can we get these documents in the chat? Is that possible?
I tried to put it in the chat. I couldn't. Maybe if I email that to Chris, and maybe Chris can send that. So I will do that right away.
Have you found any fit for the multi at the end of the Hersant? I love that piece. I'm tempted to just leave off the dang last page. But I don't think that's really fair.
Is it Nan that is speaking? I can not recognize who is speaking. No. Okay.
Hal.
Hal. I feel it the same way. I get to the last page, and that's what I haven't performed this piece yet. I go to the last page, and I feel like it may work, but it may work with a male voice better than the female. I think that you have to sing and play those partials, just that, but make sure that you are singing very strongly, and then create that Jethro Tull kind of distorted sound. And he'll be happy. He actually sent me a recording of that I did not save in a previous email email account. But he's such a nice guy, and I'm sure that he'll, if you reach out to him, he'll do something like that. He sent me a recording, and he sounded amazing on that last page.
There's a wonderful recording by Jean-Paul Manek of all pieces, which are the best pieces for alto flute.
That's wonderful piece. Yes. Yeah, but it's in my bucket list of pieces that I really wanted to perform. Yeah.
Okay, any other?
Herbie, enough. Hey,
Altophonic. Oh, who is that?
Oh,
that's my dog, my rental dog. Sorry.
multiphonics. Questions about multiphonics?
Or any
None?
questions about alternate fingerings? Okay. So I thank you all for coming, and we have another workshop. Alexa Still and I will be doing one on breathing in November. And don't forget our festival in April near Washington, D.C., which is going to be an absolute blast. And I got people coming from all over, getting proposals from all over the place. So think about, saving that time now in your calendar. Put a circle around it.
And fly into Dulles Airport. It's very close to Dulles. They have shuttles that go to the hotel.
The shuttle to, I don't know,
Mhm.
what, 10 minutes away, maybe?
Maybe. It's just south of the airport. Yeah.
It's right by the airport.
But it's pretty far from DC. It's about 45 minutes without traffic to DC. But it'll be a little late for the cherry blossoms, unfortunately, by then.
The Blossom Festival is that weekend, I have found.
Well, the festival goes for a month, but the blossoms only last 5 to 10 days, depending on the weather. And they usually come out the end of March, beginning of April, depending on the kind of winter we've had. They've been blooming a little earlier in March, so they'll be long gone by the time the festival comes around, unless we have a really hard winter, which we might.
Well, save us the cherry blossoms and then bring
Yeah.
them to the festival.
Glue them back
Yeah.
on the tree, Nan. You can do that.
Okay. Thank you all for staying around and listening to all this good information. And alternate fingerings can really save the day, I can tell you, on a low flute. Okay. Thank you, everybody. If you want to hang around and talk later, we always have things to say. If you want to just hang out and talk for another 10 minutes or so, that's perfectly fine. Or just sayonara, whatever. Okay. Paige, it looks like Paige is going, or at least waving.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you again soon, either in Florida or in DC. Good to see everybody again.
Cool.
Oh, I was saying bye, Nan. I was saying I'll stay to chat with you, Chris.
I have a question. What about A above the staff on alto flute?
On alto.
You want
a good fingering for that? Have my alto. See if just leave your right index finger. That works on my baby.
Do you want me to strike? There's an echo.
Somebody is mic is close to their speak, and that's where we're getting echo.
Okay. So, Julie, you say the high A, right? High A, third octave A. Are you looking for intonation in that pitch? Okay, so I cannot hear you because you're muted.
The one right above the staff, not super high A.
Okay. Good. So what kind of problem do you have with this one?
One of our flutes plays it super sharp. So I'm just wondering, would you just add keys like Chris was saying?
Add keys to that.
That's not usual with that note.
What's that?
Lower keys. Just find out what.
Got it.
That's a unique problem.
Yeah, usually the A is a reference note, and that it's not sharp. So make sure that the flutist that is playing has their embouchure not tight and forward.
Right. They're both fine. They're both Trevor James alto flutes. One of them is super sharp and one of them's fine. So, and the players have similar embouchures because I'm their teacher. So, you know, it's frustrating.
There's something wrong with it.
Yeah. That was my fear.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else would like to ask? Beverly.
High A, either use the second or third finger of your right hand to lower that third octave A. One does more than the other. My best, I mean, I can't do much with alternate fingerings on my alto flute because it is so well in tune. It's like if I try alternate fingerings, they're flat. And so I'm better off just to stay with original fingerings.
Lucky you.
Lucky you.
Wow. Score there for altus. It's not my case. It's not my case. I have to use a lot of things and several. For the F, I have to use that. For the E, almost that. The high E, it looks like an E flat, but I lower a lot of keys.
And I'm sure that makes a difference. Wouldn't the open hole affect it, make a difference in it as well?
Not that much. To be honest, I disclose here that I'm not using full advantage of my open holes. Yes, I use them in the left hand, but in my right hand, I have plaques. Because if it's such a long instrument, even though I'm tall and have long arms, it tires me. I can never cover this one. So I'm always touching it from here. So I don't think that the open hole makes a difference in terms of the intonation.
I have trouble covering holes on my C flute. So yeah, I usually have to keep plugs in.
Yeah, I gave up. I just like, okay, no, I'm gonna just use the black.
Okay, Ellen. Any questions? At Ozge, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Ozge, do you have any questions?
I do have a question. In DC flutes, we are playing a piece where the altos go up to a third octave B. It's like ridiculous. It's got I mean it's really interesting, but it's got I guess there are 16th notes or 16th notes that go up in triplets from the top of the staff all the way up to the third octave B. It's really fast. And I had been studying Christine's book with all the different alternate fingerings about how to get up there. The fact that it's so fast and it's not sustained or anything like that, it makes me think that it's more of a gesture, but it can be so out of tune. And there are 5 of us all playing this. And so I'm thinking like, oh, okay, we'll see. We'll see how we do that. So we've been experimenting with some of the harmonic fingerings, Christine, that you've mentioned. I will look at what you've provided, Mariana, that and I've even talked to Erin Goldman is our director, and I said, that's like, that's really kind of crazy writing. I mean, what do you expect it to sound like up there? And he said we might modify that a little bit, for that one passage. It's really out of character for the whole rest of the piece. So I don't know if you have any suggestions about how to do that like really quickly. I mean, I practice with the traditional fingerings, and then I try to do, then I work with a tuner to see if I can get it like close to sort of in tune. But when they're all of us playing it, it's kind of wild. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, but
maybe only one of you played an octave higher and the rest played down an octave.
I think he's going to come up with some sort of
Yeah.
that kind of a solution where we all don't have to play,
Yeah.
third,
Yes,
way third octave.
are a nasty.
Repeat. Yeah.
Yeah,
Instead
it's a
of two
really
octaves.
it's a beautiful piece. I mean, it's really a beautiful piece. It's just got this one passage. And you were talking about like I was looking at the harmonics for like the one hand harmonics to get up, to at least part of that. So it's fascinating. This was a very useful. I mean, the bass fingerings, the contrabass fingerings, I mean, all of that can be applied to, I mean, I play alto. I would love to also play bass, but I don't own one. But all of that can be applied to everything we talk about. I really liked your harmonic choices, Paige. Something that we can all work on. So Chris, I hope that you're going to be able to email to us all of the documents that everybody provided, or or put in some place where those of us who were here would be able to see it. So thank you very much. This has been inspirational. So I'm now I have to get out there with my, also the curved alto has a different intonation question in the third octave than the straight alto.
Yeah.
And I have to play a curved alto because I'm only 5'2". So so there's even when traditional fingerings will work for people with using the straight head joint, I still have to use some, modifications when I'm in the third register for the curved head joint. But thank you very much. This was really great.
Okay.